Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Thank you all for coming. I know this has been a marathon, 2 days, full program. Alhamdulillah, I believe it was successful, and the online community has been very active. I think yesterday we had 588 people joining us online. And today, we'll get the number later, inshallah. What I wanted to talk about is everyone has covered everything else, and we had a panelist covering the humanitarian. But I just wanted to bring to the forefront something I think most of us are either not aware of or aware but not really give the value that it deserves. And doing advocacy, we were talking about today and yesterday, when you're doing advocacy, it's not something that's tangible that you can put your finger on it, but it's something that I think is very rewarding because you get tired. Sometimes you don't get what you want out of what you're doing, the programs, the initiatives that you undertake. But at the end of the day, you feel it's very rewarding, and when you go home, you feel good about yourself. And I think that's exactly what Islam teaches us, to do everything that you can and leave the rest with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it will succeed. So what I wanted to bring to the forefront is, and that personally gives me a sense of hope, is that we see the front lines in Somalia. I am involved on the humanitarian issues in Somalia, where I like to try to say whatever I can with the help of all those other activists out there. And sometimes I believe we don't say enough. Also, we want to talk about the issues here. But what's really I want to talk about is what's I believe is close and dear to my heart, which is the humanitarian issue, women, children, elderly, minorities. So we talk about the 1.5 million who are internally displaced inside Somalia. We talk about the 3.5 million who are on the verge of starvation inside Somalia. We talk about women who are displaced. Now we know there is a drought. People are caught between the drought and the conflict in Somalia, whether it's a man-made or a natural disaster. We know the refugee camps today inside Kenya, Ethiopia, on the Dolo region, which is close to Gada area, on the side of Hiran, and also on the side of Kenya. We know the refugees coming from as far as Bay, Bakol, mainly from those two regions, and also the lower Shabelle and the upper Shabelle are coming to these refugees. And the arrival per day is 1,200. That's a huge number. And I was just looking at the numbers, and I was just talking to David, who just joined us right now, that he asked what the DAB is. And we had Abdel Nasser and Abdel Nasser Igal and Umar, Umar Idris, who talked about today the DAB, one with Africa Rights Monitor, and the other with the DAB project, the DAB Hope project. And they both visited the refugee camp in the DAB. The DAB originally was built for 90,000 people. Today, it's the biggest refugee camp in the world. It holds close to 500,000 people. Not only that, but the DAB, the refugees there don't receive enough shelter, food, water, medicine. And another issue that's impacting the community there, because now they are a community, is that women are raped on a daily basis, and girls, even under the age of 12 years old. And there's no protection. The soldiers that's supposed to be protecting are raping these women when they try to fetch wood for the fire. So when we see all of that, we see these grim images. I mean, this grim reality that doesn't seem that there is anything that we can do to help these people, whether they are related to us or we know people that they're related to. So I wanted just to give us a little bit of hope of what keeps people like myself going, activists going. And that is what women are doing behind front lines, what women are doing behind scenes of the chaos and everything that we see. And I have 4 stories that I want to share that are just random stories that I want to mention to you from the work Somali women are doing behind the scenes that no one knows. And mainly these are, I have to acknowledge, are the women that some of us see are, because they're wearing the big hijab, some Somalis call it umbrella, but they are very humble, very modest, and they don't say we carry a PhD or a doctor or a lawyer, but because of the work that they do, I think they're better than majority of us, because they don't say anything and they do what they do for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So some of the stories that I want to share is these women, who some of them I met in Virginia, they're leaders, they collect money. And sometimes this is a dangerous thing, because when you hear people are collecting money, we think about, oh, where are they taking the money? They fundraise, and they try to locate communities, individuals, families, whether it's led by single parents or a handicapped father, or they're orphans, and they try to help them and to become, not only give them something to eat, shelter, and medicine, but also to make them self-sufficient. So one of the stories is the disabled mother. This mother lives somewhere in Somalia, but I will tell you the stories that I'm giving you, they're not only from the south, they're from the north, and they're in between. So the outreach that they're making to these people has crossed regional and clan affiliations. For them, they go and find everyone who's in need. Unfortunately, they don't have anything enough to cover everything that they need to do. So this is the mother who is disabled. She was using her hands to move around, to go across the villages, because she doesn't have money to find a car, or to go, of course, across the country to fly to another country. So she uses her hands to get everywhere. When they found out about her, they said, what do you need to get around? And she said, I don't know. If I cannot drive, because I don't know how to drive, and I don't have a car, so what should I do? So they realized they can get her a wheelchair. So they raised the money, not only within the United States and North America, but across, wherever the Somalis are. And these are the women that I talked about, the religious women. And what they did was they sent her the money. They sent her the wheelchair. They bought it, sent it, they made the connections, everything they needed in Kenya. They bought the wheelchair and they delivered it. She started getting around on her own, traveling across villages. And then they said, what do you need? Do you have skill? She said, yeah, I can sew clothing. I can make dresses or uniform for school students. And then they said, so you know how to sew? Yes. So they fundraised and they bought her a sewing machine. She started sewing for the uniform and other clothes for any other community who had any weddings or anything like that. And then she called back and she said, you know what, the bill that you're giving me, the $100, I want you to divert it to another community who is in need, or another woman, another member of the Somali family. Because now I'm self-sufficient, I can take care of my family. So they found a man who is blind, and he's married to this woman. The woman is mentally ill, but no one knew. She would deliver the baby, and after few weeks, the baby will be found dead. So they tried to figure out what's happening to the baby. They found out, because the woman was ill, that she was using the baby as a pillow, and the baby was suffocating. So what they found out is, if that's the case, what they found out was this woman was ill. She was not doing this because she was a malicious mother. So they raised funds to hire a nanny, a family member or relative, but who doesn't have anything, so to give them a sense of hope also. So they hired one, so she can take care of the baby. So they will take the baby, when she delivers the baby, have the mother breastfeed the baby, and whenever the baby is breastfed, the family member or the nanny will take the baby. So that's how now, with 3 babies, that mother's alive and well, and the blind father is taking care of his family with the bill that this family, the sisters across the diaspora are sending. So she's okay, but of course, still we need to take care of the mental health issue, which is something that's prevalent within the Somali community, whether here or inside Somalia. So that's your second story. The third story is the widow with 8 children. This woman has crossed the boundaries herself. She left from the north, came to the south to find a better life, and the civil war started, so she went to the north, and now she got lost somewhere in the middle. Her son was playing with his friends near a hospital, and they were playing with the needles that hospitals did not dispose properly. So they started poking his leg, thinking, just it was okay. The leg got infected. The doctors said they needed to amputate the leg because he was 18 years old. He couldn't really survive if they didn't do that. So they did that, and when they did that, the doctors said they needed the mother to pay the money because after all, the doctors are charging money too. So she decided to call a woman that she knew in the better days in Somalia, better days that when Somalia was Somali, the Somalia some of us know. Most of you are younger, so you may not have seen a good Somalia, but there are those who have seen it and who would dream that to have come back. So she reached out to this woman. The woman didn't have much here in the United States. So she sent her $100, but she said, I don't have anything else to help you. You need more than that. So she reached out to the ladies that I described earlier, the Somali ladies across the United States, Canada, and abroad. And what they did was they fundraised for her. Again, this is the third mother. As she was collecting, when she collected the money, she got on what's called, it's like a minibus, but Somalis call acid, the acid. And as she got on that, it's like a minibus, the gangs or militia attacked the bus. The mother was shot in the back of the head. She had the money, her boys in the hospital. Now the breadwinner of the family of 8, including her 9, is in a coma. They took her to the hospital. And someone who knew the story reached out to the ladies. They told them. She came out of the coma now, and she called, took the money, paid the expenses because she came out of the coma. She paid all the expenses, and she called the ladies and she said, I want you to divert that $100 to another family who's in need because now I'm self-sufficient. I'm selling shah, which is a tea, and anjera on a nearby, stores. So I'm okay and my family. So that's your third story, and which gives me hope to go on. And a lot of other activists also use this and others that are out there as a reason to go on. Now, this story is the last one, is the one that I was involved. I think some of you have seen this on the email that I've sent around. It involves, and I was given permission to use her name this time, not a last name. Her name is Ibada. Ibada is in the north. I will mention this because I want to give a little sense of understanding that what the politics and everything that separates our people does not separate the ordinary people. And I mentioned her name because she is the one that I believe unites both because she is from both. Ibada had 3 little babies. She's a widow. Her husband was killed. She couldn't find a job, so she decided to go and join the militias. So she will be able to come up with money to raise her kids. She couldn't, and then she decided to join the soldiers in the north, and she couldn't. Then when the ladies found out, they said, how much do you need? She said, I need $50. So they say, we'll rent your room. Oh, what I forgot is the neighbors and the people that she knew from her clan told her, why don't you give us your 3 daughters so they can watch the baby goats? What do they call? Wahara. Baby goats? Yeah. So they can watch that for us. So she said, okay, so the 3 babies, and these are 7, 5, and 3. These are babies, right? But in Somali, they're watching baby goats to get money or to be fed. When the women found out, they said, okay, go ahead, we'll send the bill to take care of you, but the requirement is that you find your children, bring them home. So she did that. They rented a home, and then one of the small girls was infected, has developed pneumonia, and then tuberculosis later. So they came up with the money to send her to hospital to take care of her. She's back. Now, Ibadah, a couple of months ago, I think some of you have seen this email, I got a call 11:30 p.m. at night. And the reason I was called was because they said, Ibadah, a lady by the name of Ibadah is throwing up a blood. And she has been thrown up 3 days. She cannot open her eyes. She's not feeling well, of course, because she's dehydrated. And then the next morning, by the time I put my email together to send everywhere, I found out not only was she vomiting blood, but also she had blood coming out on the other side too. So she had because there's no food in her stomach, the blood was making a quick transit through her GI system. So this woman was a woman who needed immediate help. So we talked to her, they put me on the phone so we could do a quick diagnosis. So the quick diagnosis was she had internal bleeding, of course, and it had an upper GI bleeding. And they had to find her a hospital, and they have to find it fast. Otherwise, she could die. So they sent her $500 that it's supposed to be micro grant, and they told her to use that money to get to the hospital in Garowe. She got to Garowe from the north. And then we found out there were not enough hospitals, so they diverted her to Hargeisa. So Hargeisa, she didn't know anybody, so one of the sisters knew a man who went to the same school with her, or that she knew someone who went to the same school with him in Mogadishu in the good old days, who is a doctor now in Hargeisa. So she connected with him and she told him, we're sending Ibadah. She's very sick and we need you to take care of her and tell us what's needed. He received her in Hargeisa. She took a car with the number with his number in her hand. She called him. He's in the hospital recovering. They found out she had, of course, upper GI bleeding, but some other things are also going on. We still don't know. She's coming back. Now, another doctor here in the United States have given another $500 because the other $500 that was meant for the micro grant is used for her medical treatment. So he is now giving the ladies $500 to replace the original $500 so she can become self-sufficient. I tell you these stories because I want to tell you no effort is too small. No effort goes anywhere without creating a change in someone's life. A small call that you make, a small step that you make toward doing good, or a small step that you take by picking up a child from one place to the other, or tutoring, or doing mentoring, or even reaching out to someone, building a website that increases awareness, or talking about the humanitarian disaster in Somalia, or talking about what needs to be done to empower women, to take care of the children, to empower minorities, goes a long way. So those of you who are on Facebook, because I'm on Facebook, and I see what the young people are doing. I see one entry that says, oh, I'm running to the bathroom now, I'll talk to you later. And I said, who wants to know if you want to go to the bathroom? I want you to know that you can use the Facebook for better things. Not raising money, but increasing awareness. Working with community organizations and increasing awareness through that organization, or helping that organization come up with the funds to help the youth here. There are 2,000 kids, as far as we know, mostly boys, in the prison in Minnesota. Majority of them, they did not commit a crime that was worthy to have them in prison, but they committed a simple, petty crime. But you can help them as youth. You can come together and help them. And this business of we are the youth now, the older have to get out of here, or the older people, oh, these are just kids. That has to stop, because in Islam there's no exclusivity, right? No one has the right to do one thing, and no one has the right not to do anything. So we all need to come together and take heed from these ladies, what they have done. No one knows these stories. The 2 ladies in Minnesota who have been indicted for supporting, from what I understand, terrorists, that's what the papers say, they have been taking care of a lot of orphans. They've been taking care of mothers, single mothers, widows. They have been taking care of handicapped men and women. But today, because they are going through difficulties, them defending their life, that whole group that they used to support have no one else to turn to. So even we have to find out, these women, everyone says they're guilty, but remember, in the United States, everyone is innocent until proven guilty. So when someone is arrested or someone is accused, we should not, put them in a box and say they're out of our community. We need to find out what took place, so even we can improve in the future better ways to raise funds, so they're not used, those funds, as a reason to detain them or indict them or to make them look like they're criminals. So we need to raise awareness also. Raising money without having the 501c3 organizations is not the best way to do anything. If you know of someone who has an organization, use that organization, and don't be suspicious of that organization, because they're legal. Anything that they have and they take, the IRS, they're accountable to the IRS. So I just wanted to share those, and if anyone has any question, I will entertain if we have time. Otherwise, that's all I wanted to share. I hope you will be all helping out with the advocacy work. Thank you.